some people have seen where God has brought you from. You don't really understand it. They don't know your story. The things.
Well, having fun, and
what do you consider fun? Doing what? That the 15, 16-year-olds might find themselves doing, or that some parent might be able to know that their child just might be doing, might want to be watchful. But in your eyes, and you're 23 now, so you're 15, 16, you just saw it as purely fun, What was that?
I mean, it was fun.
It sounds like you're thinking about something. Yeah.
I mean, how much more do we need there?
Okay, sexual fun. Drugs related, sex related.
Sure.
Both of them.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely delved in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And 15, 16, not 17.
Didn't stop until recently, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. That was something that, if anything, in college that probably picked up and was amplified, as you can imagine with what happens in college.
Open door admission.
Yeah, and that was granted that by the time I got to college, I had gone through my my tribulation I was talking about earlier, and when I got to college, initially it was like I was definitely tested early, when I first got to college, and
Right.
I didn't do so well in those tests, of faith and tests of, denying my flesh,
Right.
and then the rest was history, pretty much until the last couple of years,
Okay.
when my faith was tested again, as far as me being able to pay for school, and God showed me that, like, look, I'm still in control, and that's when I started to say, okay, I can't just do what I want, not me.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think would have made a difference, would have helped you with your dealing with those temptations and tests and of the flesh, sexual or drug related? What do you think could have been done differently, or had it been something been done differently, would have helped you not indulge as much as you did? And you're actually helping me because my son is 15.
I see that. I see that. So I'm being careful with what I say. I want it to be impactful. I think, again, everyone's different.
But be authentic.
No,
be transparent,
you're gonna get that.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, it takes
if you could have had something, if something could have been said to you, something could have been done, something could have been allowed or cut off, or what could have, what do you think?
I think back before then, before I got to my teenage years, if I developed an identity, if I developed commitments to anything, to something, if I developed that early on, back, my parents wanted me to do some extracurricular stuff, and I delved in it, but I didn't commit to it, to most of any of it. I would do it just to say I did it, but there was no commitment, there was no discipline. That's what I'm looking for, discipline.
Right.
I like discipline for most of my life. I'm only 23, but I realized I like discipline. I had a lot of good qualities that kind of counteracted that. I was, I was smart, and a lot of other stuff that, kind of overshadowed, my lack of discipline.
Right.
So that was something that maybe some people may not have picked up, but I did like discipline for most of my life, which I'm working on to this very day, but I've made strides in this year, by the way. But had I developed discipline or been able to stick to something, whether that had been sports or I delved into, I played my saxophone for 4 years. I was probably the closest I got to sticking to something through,
That's
doing
why I love saxophone, man.
Yeah, but trying to relate that to being able to stick through something, even though the resistance is there to shy away from it or to waver in it, and to be influenced to go away from it by my friends or whomever it was, whatever influences are there. I think how to develop discipline early on, and being able to persevere through difficulties and being able to stick to something. I think that would have helped me not be so easily influenced by my peers and my environment. I want to say I didn't have someone. My dad was very, he had faith regardless. He did have faith regardless.
Regardless of what you were dealing with?
Of whatever he was going through, or as a family. My dad was always, that was consistent. He drove for Greyhound consistently. But, and to this day, I'm still piecing it together. Maybe if you ask me 5 more years, I may have a different answer for you. But that's what I'm telling you. At 23 years of age, there was, to this day, instances of my dad trying all kind of different things and not sticking through. Not sticking through. They're not finishing. I grew up seeing a lot of that. And those things like having a job, you kind of take those for granted. Like everybody has a job, they kind of do it for whatever. So that wasn't something that I looked at as like their dad is trying something and actually sticking to that identity. And this might be me just trying to find a scapegoat. I don't know, but
it's good just because a lot of times jobs is looked at as obligation for survival.
Right.
So you don't really see
take
that
for granted. That's not to say that it's not something worth admiring that someone's sticking through and finishing. Nonetheless, however, I could have got discipline, or I'm not an expert in that field, but I do think discipline is a skill set that would translate to someone sticking through their faith through those rough years of being a teenager.
Now at 23, and you mentoring or you talking or ministering to somebody who is 15, 16, or to their parents to help them, then what do you think could have helped you be more disciplined? Do you think that your parents could have been firmer? Do you think that somebody should have watched you a little bit more, not trusted you as much as they did? I mean, what is it? Because sometimes you try to figure out as a parent, do I give a little bit more trust? Do I pull back? Do what? And then you're being a part of a church affiliate organization. Oh, everything is good.
Yeah. I think one thing that I'm working on, because I do realize I got a lot of I guess as we'll talk about later in my ministry, and I have people looking up to me and watching me with a close scope, and I embrace it. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And in that, I feel like it's important for me to demonstrate consistency. And one of my sermon last Sunday to the group I speak to was actually about your decisions affecting other people, and life. It's not just them and their bubbles, because youth tend to think that like, oh, whatever I do is going to affect me, and so that was kind of my messages for that day. And
so that's powerful, man.
One of the examples I had was, for a good example was like, I said, look guys, I had a commitment that I was gonna, the pastor asked me, months ago, could I come and speak to the youth, the Youth Detention Center, on a Sunday, and I said, I'll get back to you on that. I didn't want to jump to commitment because I had, this year I've been making an emphasis on being a man of my word. If I said I was gonna do something, I was gonna do it. If I couldn't do it, I was gonna own up to it and say I couldn't do it. But whatever I committed to was what I was going to follow through with. And consistently for these last 6 months, I've been, going to seeing these kids, and I said that, the benefit of me having demonstrated consistency and me making a commitment to saying yes, I will do it, it's benefiting them. Me being, disciplined and commit and showing that commitment is benefiting you guys. And that was kind of how I painted the picture of, you doing something good can impact others, and me, that example is me being committed to something and showing consistency. So what I'm, trying to say is, showing consistency, and the interactions, I think, as a as a parent, you know, with their children, you know, my dad would always have different things that he wanted me to do. You know, I want you to start doing this. I want you to start doing that. I want you to start doing this, you know, and it would be no follow through. You know, we tried, you know, and granted, he might have just been trying it or whatever,
Right.
you know, but it just became as, you know, dad and his new gimmick.
Right.
That's kind of what I became accustomed to, you know, on a lot of different levels. And again, you know, I'm no expert, but perhaps, you know, just being consistent in everything that you do in life, I think will inherently demonstrate to someone that this is the way you're supposed to live. And that's kind of, you know, my model that I'm developing is being consistent and showing discipline to be able to stick to something no matter how hard it gets, you know, not wavering. You know, I'm trying to live that way, so when I have my kids, they can be able to say, you know, Dad, you know, whatever he said he was going to do, he did it, and whatever he, you know, whatever he set out to do, he was going to do it, you know, and just showing that consistency and that commitment to things, you know, I think will develop that kind of trait in them to be able to be, you know, strong and be like a rock, you know, and water, and not be able to move from the influences outside of them. I think that's probably the best way to, as a parent, to be able to, you know, just lead by example kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that coming from you to me also, because I can relate. My father was not, he was there. He was present in the house. Now, of course, your father gave you a little bit more in some aspects than mine did. My father, you know, always provider. I could always, and so that's how I look at man as first. You know, man just he's a provider. A lot of personal interaction that I wanted just him and I to have that I never had. You know, so what I did not have with him and what I could not look to him for, I find myself taking that mind frame like, okay, I'm going to do this with my son. I'm going to do differently with my son. There were some good things, and I take those things,
Right.
you know, because I often see him coming out of me when I'm just taking a teachable moment and giving wisdom and, you know, whatever, because he would always do that, you know. But then there's other times when the amount of time my son and I spent together, man, please run circles around, you know.
Yeah.
But they're not, you know, the time, whatever. So it
Sure.
comes out of what I did not have and making that mind frame that I'm going to do things differently. One thing you have said that your dad has done consistently is two things you said. You say, one, he just consistently kept the faith,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of what, you know, and what that shows you, and you will learn this more even growing into manhood, and I think you already, I'm just listening to you, man, see somewhere is that as people, as parents, as men, women, or whatever, but there's no, I would say marriage and parenting, but there's no really book that says, you know, manual that this is how you do this, you know, because you can have 5 kids and each one of them you have to address and deal with them differently, you know, so you know, so everything is touch and go and learn, and so you and also like you said, you realize that there's a scope on you. I mean, you know, they're watching you, you know, so that's something that as parents we have to realize. That's one of the things that's helped me with my son. He's always be with me, and when he's with me, because it helps keeps me, you know, accountable, knowing his eyes on me, or do I want him to do this thing and whatever, or you don't need to be saying this thing, whatever, because I'm still working on this thing, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So powerful. So speaking of your dad, consistent faith, your faith, I want to go back and then go forward to where you are now with your faith. Going back, what is the first recollection you have of being introduced to God, faith, Word, Bible?
That first recollection that I have of when I was initially introduced was, I believe, when my dad gave us our own little individual Bibles. And they're like small, like the little New Testament little Bibles that everybody has, the pocket-sized ones. it was cool because it was like, as a kid, it was like, oh, it's small. It's like for me, you know. I mean, lo and
Right.
behold, it's a pocket Bible, like it's supposed to be small. But you know, I thought it was awesome just because it was, you know, for me, you know, little Bible.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's,
How old were you then?
gee, I don't know, probably like 8, 7, something like that.
Okay.
And then I also have memories of. It's funny. I have memories before him giving me the Bible of me being when we first moved to Georgia. We lived in a motel before we could find a permanent living situation. And we I remember my dad would go to work. My mom would be watching TBN or something like that. I'd be like preaching. I don't know what I was preaching about. You know, but I'd be legit preaching, you know, like, you know, all in the amplified voice and, you know, animated, and you can ask my mom, I would preach. It would just be in her in the room. My sister was old enough to go to school. I wasn't at the time. So I had to been 4 or 5. Yeah, right. That date's right there. I was too young to go to school, and I would just be, you know, doing what I saw on TV, you know. I actually had that memory before, you know, any formal introduction of, you know, what the Bible is and stuff like that.
I'm listening to you, man. I'm constantly hearing the power of environment, power of influence by, you know, you, whether it was the challenges with consistency and discipline, or whether it was mimicking what you were seeing on TV because of what was being shown in the home on TV, you know, or even your excitement about your own Bible because you already seen Dad had a bigger one, you know, or whatever. You know, it's just the environment and the ear gate, the eye gates, all of that is so detrimental, you know, and so essential to the growth and development of a child.
Yeah.
Wow. But one of the more powerful things that I'm hearing is that you got faith early. Life, I call it life happens, you know, and you, because of your early faith, your foundation of faith, things came when you were 17, other things came that you wasn't familiar with. It shifted your lifestyle from what you were accustomed to, but you had already had a foundation, a faith foundation, and whether you had made up in your mind to fully, you know, go in the route that you believe that God wanted you to go in, you knew, you know. Did you pray?
Yes.
You remember praying coming up?
Yeah. On that note, though, I would say that I didn't start praying, like, you know, with the expectation of, you know, as a kid, like, I learned the prayer, you know, and it was like, prayer. I know I'm supposed to say it every morning.
Okay.
You know, and I would do it because I know I'm supposed to say it every morning. That's just the way it was. That's just what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And so I did it.
Good.
You know, with no real expectation that, like, you know, this is, you know, when you pray, you receive something. You know, that's communication of God, and you know that whole transaction is special. You know, and that I didn't start, you know, praying with, you know, fervently and with expectation until probably the last few years. But I grew up praying, you know, all my life, whether it was just going through the motions or not, you know, I was praying.
In the past couple of years, you began to pray fervently and with expectation. Mm-hmm. And you felt like you were conversating with God? You felt like He was hearing you?
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to going through a ritual or routine?
Most definitely. Definitely. You know, anything that I asked for, you know, I expected it to be done.
Okay,
you know?
well, what brought about that?
When I was going through that, you know, tribulation when I was 17 or 18 or whatever, there was there was instances where I would, you know, ask God to help me with things and to make things happen, you know, and He would do it, you know. And I guess I didn't really have to ask. I guess as bad as it sounds, I didn't really have to ask for anything, you know, that was, you know, I really needed, you know, until I was at dire straits, and then I, you know, I had to, you know, get the basic necessities, and, you know, God's Never Lady came through with them, and I started to realize, like, wow, God answers, you know, exactly what you asked for, you know.
Right.
Go figure.
Right.
Yeah, at that time, it was like, you know, like, wow, you know. have that power.
Right.
No, in all seriousness.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's good.
Um,
Because you exercise.
Yeah.
He has given us authority and dominion. He's
Yeah.
given us power through, these are our weapons. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Prayer and praise and worship, you know, and
Yeah.
declarations. So, right, that's good. I'm loving how you saw it and
Yeah.
how you proceeded.
and so, you know, when that realization was there, you know, that's when I started to, that was a time frame when I started to say, okay, if I can start asking more, you know, meaningful things, you know, and more impactful things, you know, and
Let's see if I can get a car out of this.
yeah, right. You know,
Yeah, let's try
I
that.
got one eventually. You know, so even that, yeah. So it was a lot of that you know
Wow.
started to change. You know, my prayer life with God.
Wow,
And,
wow.
You know, going through that, it went from, you know, stop just asking things and start, you know, being thankful for the things that was given to me, because they were just so outlandish and so, you know, fairy tale like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even in their delivery, it was like, nah, that doesn't happen. Like, yeah, it did, you know. And so
Wow.
it was just, you know, conversation like, you know, just God, thank you so much for, you know, doing all the things you've done and continue to do, things that I don't even know about you doing, you know, but nevertheless I'm benefiting from, and those around me are benefiting from, and, you know, it came I feel like friendship makes it so trivial. I don't know. The word does no justice for a relationship with God, but you know, it was. I don't know if you can get where I'm going. You know, it just became more of a. You know,
It was a closeness. It was
a
a
closeness.
relationship.
There we go. Yeah.
More than religion, it was a relationship.
Yeah. It was authentic, and
Yeah.
I felt it. You know, I felt His presence. And,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's good. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he wants. That's what he's always seeking. And I really believe that whatever we go through in our lives, from childhood to when we're older, I think God is orchestrating things in such a way that we all eventually, individually, get to a place with Him that we have our own personal relationship. You know, outside of mom, outside of dad, outside of the preacher, the deacon, the church. You know, and so we wonder why we go through some things or whatever, and some people come out of it, like I told you, 5 can go through the same thing, but at the same time, he's always trying to get us back to him, to a personal place. And it sounds like that's what has happened with you, you know, and as powerful and faithful as Dad, you know, in the faith as Dad is and can be, or you know, and you have Mom and whoever else around you. God is trying to get with you, you know, and so everybody else has their story, and everybody has their experiences, but God's, through our experiences and everything, He's trying to bring us to a place with Him in relationship, and then take us from relationship to purpose. So now you have a relationship with Him that you know you got. So now, what's your purpose?
What is my purpose?